Hey Leo, hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for your patience while I was sick. It was cray-cray. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into your reading from May 2019. Just want to shuffle your cards a little bit more. Pardon me if I sound like a frog. I'm still having like some sort of nasal infection. Terror. It's not cool. It sucks. Show me energy for Leo. Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Leo. May 2019. Leo. Okay, Leo. Leo. You have the star popping out here, Leo. It's Aquarian energy. Energy of balance, energy of trusting yourself, trusting the path that you're on, trusting your own meaning, your personal worth, your vitality. It's a card of healing. It's a card of release, letting go, enjoying the journey that you're on and believing and knowing that it's for you. Cat hair on everything in my life. Show me more for Leo. You have the Queen of Swords, Aquarian energy. So you have Aquarius, very, very heavily prominent, very heavily placed here right now, Leo. You could be dealing with an Aquarius, could be dealing with a Gemini or a Libra. Doesn't have to be. The Queen of Swords is somebody who's very discerning. She is honest. She's genuine in her approach to gather information. She's wise about things. She basically doesn't really want much fluff involved in the information that she's receiving. This could also be being very clear about the direction and path that we're on, being very clear in what makes us feel good, being very clear in what makes us heal, how we need to go about healing our lives and our situations, whether that be alone or with somebody. Yeah, the Hierophant here, it's Taurian energy, Taurus energy. The Hierophant talks about establishment. It can talk about commitments. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's the commitment card. It's not always the commitment card. It can talk about establishments. It can talk about school. It can talk about how things are in the world, how things are in our lives as far as what we've been trained, the traditional aspects of our lives, how we fit into society, how we look at society in honesty and in our full truth, and really evaluate if the path that we're on is something that is either pleasing to society or is it something that we can honestly sit behind and be comfortable with. You know, here on the back of her mind, we have the star. Trusting your own path, trusting your intuition, trusting the guidance that is for you, asking for guidance, asking for clear pathways so that your experience in this world can be vitally yours, Here, we're being very genuinely honest about looking at establishments, looking at society, looking at what makes us who and why and how we want to maintain that. Do we want to maintain being this prim and proper person? Or, not everybody's prim and proper, but a lot of the time people get these conditions, women have to be a certain way, men have to be a certain way, keeping up with the Joneses, oh, Catholics do this, and so therefore you can never date this person. You're white, you can't date a black person. Like, it's like these weird social constructs that are entirely irrelevant, like, to the human being. And it's I think here we're addressing them, Leo. We're really looking into what makes sense of things for ourselves and being very honest about it. And there's something to be said about that. People who have integrity, especially within themselves, like, what a wonderful gift. So many people are struggling just to be real in the world. Like, it starts within. This is talking about going within. This is talking about being real with things. Show me more for Leo. You have the Page of Wands here, Leo. So an energy of starting things, direction, curiosities, passion that needs direction. How do I want to go upon this path that I'm so choosing? And not feel like I'm trying something and starting something, then not finishing it, in, out, being kind of fly by night with certain things. I'm feeling that it's important to really address how you go about your next phase, how you go about stepping into the next phase of yourself here. You could be having communication with somebody in regard to education. You could be having communication with somebody in regard to your path, and that could be in work, that could be in life in general, that could be within spirituality. The star represents a fair amount of spirituality. And stepping into that can sometimes be difficult, especially if we've been dealt a very heavy hand within this type of energy. If we've been held down under the microscope, so to speak, in regard to people judging the way that you are, judging how you should look, think, eat, what you should be like, what your bank account should look like, judging your job, judging. It's basically a lot of like social norms. And here I'm feeling this is questioning that. Here I'm feeling that we're really looking in on what it means to be more of an independent thinker, and also to, how do I want to say that? Like rely on yourself more, to be honest with yourself in how you go about changing things. So it's not such shock when you do it more often, and it feels like you're stepping into doing that more often. I think it's always good to buck the system. I think it's always good to be your own person. Leo, you guys are magnanimous creatures. You're beautiful. You're elegant. You are sometimes refined and sometimes total trash whores. I love you. I love Leos. I've dated Leos consistently, and except for now, I'm dating a Libra. But Leos are beautiful, and your hearts are huge. And I think being all of that, it's very important for you to be very clear about how you address what you want in your life, how you go about changing things so that they're actually by your design versus the design of so many people or your family or the church, or, don't fit in. And you guys are very good at not fitting in. You're kind of your own animal, and I love that about Leo. I think it's wonderful, but I think it's vitally important that you recognize that and be comfortable stepping into that energy, because it's going to move for you in positive ways. Let's keep pulling cards. So you have the Two of Wands here falling out in reverse, Leo. The Two of Wands, in general, it speaks of so many things. It speaks of putting out your energy and effort towards things that you want, setting goals, attaining goals, reaching out to people to spark ideas, move things forward so you can actually start to create forward movement. In reverse, it can talk about letting go of ideas. It can also talk about having finally honed in on something that you truly want and making that decision to actually go forward into it, to make sense of it, to be genuine by honoring what you want in your life. And sometimes that can be very difficult, hence the reason that we have the Queen of Swords here. She's somebody who really doesn't get involved in things that are going to be emotionally fueled as far as decision making. She's going to make her decisions solely based upon logistical information. She's going to make decisions based upon information that is proven. When dealing with people, it's going to basically be dealing with the facts. I don't want to hear the fluffy words. I don't want to hear the 10,000 I'm sorry's. I don't want to hear all of these things. I want the truth. I want the facts. It's almost like a lawyer, very fact-based, but also open. Here we have the hand open. We're opening the palm. We're receptive to the information that comes through, but we're also incredibly discerning. And I think that that's important. Sometimes Leo can be all over the place because they see the good in so much of life. And that's wonderful. But I think it's also important to bring it down back to earth. Sometimes Leo reminds me of Pisces in a certain way, because Pisces can get all over the place and they can get very wrapped up in their head and their emotions and their mind, and like kind of like this nebulous space world that they can live in. And Leos can get very excited and in the same light kind of do that like cosmic dance of confusion. And so I think it's important to rein it in, reel it in. Show me more for Leo. But yeah, it feels like something's being decided upon, something that a path that we're choosing to go upon is decided. It's being moved upon, but you have to look at it in every angle. You have to assess it for whatever it is. And I don't know what that's going to be for you. Everybody's different. And this is a general reading for thousands of people. So, the energy that's present here is more so for your sign. Show me more for Leo. So yeah, pathways, moving, forward movement, trajectory, physical moves, flight, communication, written letters. If you, and it falls right underneath the Hierophant like this. As much as I am speaking of bucking the system and doing things your own way, there is also a place within the system, and there is also a place within how you go about life. And while I mention all of these things like going away from that is in regard to school, it's important to be able to choose what you want, go after it, and trust that these traditional aspects are actually for your benefit. This is kind of a two-way reading here in regard to how that energy works and what I'm feeling right now. Yeah, it feels like the direction that you're going in is something of your own. It needs to be guided by your, I want to say gut feeling, but also up here versus just emotions. It needs to be a very strong, I want to say like faith-based thing. And I don't mean like kumbaya and, all of the other, well, kumbaya is not really a faith-based thing, but I don't mean religious, like faith-based. I mean your own faith within yourself, what you feel within yourself. That is your barometer. That's your guiding point. Okay. That's your guiding light. That's your guiding star. And it needs to be paid attention to. Show me more for Leo. Some of you may be getting into school, enrolling into school. Some of you may be dealing with a situation where you've finally picked a certain thing that you want to go into, and that's been daunting for you. And now you're choosing to go toward it. Nothing wrong with that. And you have the Eight of Pentacles. So putting a lot of energy and effort into a situation. This is an especially good card when you're going to school, work, learning any new project, or this could be a situation where you're endeavoring into getting into something that you're doing solely on your own, like what do they call it? An entrepreneurial situation, building your own business. This is about fine-tuning your craft. It's about making sure that you put your effort into the things that you do wholeheartedly and you learn. You have cards of learning, expansion, students, school here, higher education, knowledge, and seeking after something, This also could be a block in regard to knowing the direction that you want to go in. That can also be a block in that. And what I'm feeling here is that there's a necessity to trust your intuition, trust what you feel is right for you, and make movement from there, Stop reading between the lines constantly. It's about trusting your situation. And I know that the analytical thinkers out there are going to say, well, you need to just know the facts and this and that. And, it has to be like science-based and whatever. And sure, it can. Fact-based is great too. But bring in some of that cosmic Pisces energy and go from faith, go from trust, go from that energy. It feels like that's going to be very helpful for you, but also very rewarding if you put the work into it. Very rewarding if you put the work into it. This is on the trajectory for greatness, okay? When we put energy and effort into something wholeheartedly, the results are often great. And especially with Leos, you guys are hella passionate, incredibly passionate people. Tell me more for Leo. So you have the Three of Wands falling beneath the Two of Wands in reverse. So this is something that you want. It's something that you need to be patient, that you've been patient with, or need to be patient in the process of getting. Here we have the Eight of Pentacles with the Three of Wands. This is basically putting in the work to get what you want. This is a card also. It's a card of heavy work. It's also a card of great patience, because heavy work, long, toiling, arduous work, it's required for you to have patience. You know, that doesn't just automatically happen. Things don't just automatically fall in your lap because, oh, one day it was nice and it fell out of the sky. Like, people, you have to work on what you want, you know. I feel here, honestly, like, I don't know, this reading is interesting, you know, because it feels more like a self-reflective reading, like where we are really figuring out what we want to do in how we want to go about things for our own sake, for our own life, for our own stability, for our finance, for our well-being. Sorry, I'm dropping cards. Hang on. But then on the flip side too, if we are dealing with love, we have somebody else that's coming out on the scene. We've got the King of Wands here. King of Wands is Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. We have the King of Wands, we've got the Queen of Swords, we have the Hierophant, okay? We have energy here that is, in regard to a relationship, we have energy here that is more so indicative of a communication that is wanting to go further, a deepening of sorts, but not really feeling entirely 100% about a situation. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Fool. Okay, so the Fool is essentially talking about new beginnings. It talks about learning. It talks about taking everything that you've learned thus far and applying it to where you're at now, where you want to go, the directions that you want to be in, where you want to go. But it also talks about not being impetuous, not running into things head first. This kind of energy can be a little bit impetuous. It can run into things with the sheer desire and passion to get involved in something, but then it doesn't really know how to go any further. It's not really fully equipped. And so that card is about study. It takes time. It takes effort and energy to study what you want to do. In regard to a relationship, it's almost as if you would have to trust the energy as far as like, does this person feel right to me? Versus what society wants or what looks good on paper. Some people make relationship decisions based upon statistics or like status. That's what it is, status. This isn't a situation for that. This is a situation for you to be very honest and genuine with yourself in regard to what it is that you want as a human being and in a partnership, and really be very clear about that. If this is a relationship situation, be very clear about that with this person, okay? But in the other sense of it too, this could definitely mean stepping into our own power now, recognizing the energy, the effort, the diligence, the situation that you're about to embark upon it carries a heavy load here. And this is about bravery. This is about withstanding all of that. It's about endurance. It's about being very strong in your passions and desires and going after what you want. It's a very auspicious card. Good information there. But can be a little bit daunting. I know this reading feels all over the place, but that's kind of what I'm feeling right now, all over the place. So let's go ahead and clarify some things. I'm going to clarify with this deck. I like this deck. It's newer to me, but I like it. My boyfriend bought it, and I stole it. So let's show me the Queen of Swords here. I'm going to do the Queen of Swords and then the King of Wands, and then we'll read them. Show me the Queen of Swords. That's like 10 cards, you guys. Show me the Queen of Swords. You have the King of Pentacles here for the Queen of Swords. I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to pull the card for the King of Wands here. Show me the King of Wands. Okay, so you have the 10 of Swords here, and you had 4 cards literally just shimmy on out. So I don't know what they are because they're face down. I'm going to read them with you right now. So the Page of Pentacles, the Wheel of Fortune, 2 of Cups, 10 of Pentacles, 2 of Pentacles in regard to this King of Wands. So, okay, if this is a situation where you're being called upon, this is a relationship situation that I'm speaking of. If it's a situation where you're being called upon to engage with somebody that you may be uncertain with, what I'm feeling here is that you want the facts, but you also want somebody to step into their power in full. You want somebody to be, how do I say this, stable beyond stable, or at least rectify where they may have not been in the past. Here, this can talk about needing courage to persevere here. And here, we have a lot of pain. We've got a lot of frustration. We have a lot of misguided feelings, emotions, thoughts. It can also be talking about being stabbed in the back. I don't really pick that up here. I feel this is more of like letting go of a situation where it's like once we were, I don't want to say negative. I want to say self-sabotatory in a relationship. It could be that you were totally fucked over by somebody, but what I'm feeling is like somebody, it's like parting ways with old experiences to potentially step into something greater. The Page of Pentacles with the Wheel of Fortune, the 2 of Cups, and the 10 of Pentacles with the 2 of Pentacles. You have energy of being off balance. You have energy here where it's like we're uncertain, but we're willing to go into a situation. Slow and steady wins the race. It may feel like you have blinders on, but there's still like an energy where we're moving forward towards something. If this is in regard to just you being on your own, going to school, setting towards an endeavor, it feels like it's scary, but it's moving forward. You may feel like you have blinders on, but I really think that it's important for you to keep your eye on the prize here. Keep your eye on the prize and trust. You also may be getting information from somebody that you typically wouldn't, why do I want to say that? Information from somebody that you typically wouldn't know or typically wouldn't hang out with. Somebody, I don't want to say a foreigner, but they're different. They're foreign to you. And it doesn't mean they have an accent. It just means there's somebody that's not your normal person, but there's something about them that is coming towards you or you're coming towards them. There's some information that's shared where there's, it's helpful and it leads you to more money. I don't know why this is coming up, but it's coming up. It's helpful and it leads you to more money. It's like you're walking away from like a desolate area. That's what it feels like. It's like you're walking away from a desolate area and trusting. And it may be coming in this way. It may be coming in this way because it feels a little bit foreign. It feels a little bit scary to hear something from somebody or trust something from somebody that you don't know. Maybe that's just a metaphor that you don't know them, but yeah, it feels foreign, but you're going towards it, and it's abundant, and it's slow and steady. And have faith in that, because there is a fair amount of abundance in that. There's a fair amount of goodness and luck and trust, but also a lot of time. that is had to be experienced here. A lot of patience as well, taking time with the process, going slow, being genuine about it. um, for those of you that are not in a relationship, I want to mention this. Doing that, it almost puts you into the pathway of something where you are able to meet people that are of like mind, that are of the same energy, and it seems very fruitful. It seems very open and cordial. It seems good camaraderie and feeling good. And it feels like it puts you on the path to meeting somebody that is worth your while and energy and ends up into something far greater than what you may have experienced in the past. The 10 of Pentacles and the 2 of Cups. This is about connections, undeniable connections. It's about connections that lead to lifetime partnerships. I know a lot of people are very much on the twin flame kick. I can't say that I am. I'm not really a big fan on twin flame stuff. I do believe in karmic relationships, and I believe that they're all karmic, and we're all soulmates. Like, no matter how you slice it, we're all soulmates. I'm your soulmate, you're my soulmate. Like, there's not much difference there. There's a reason why we're brought together, and it's to change information, to shift our consciousness, to bring awareness to whatever, and the people that are in our lives that we break up with, the hurt, the pain, all of that is for our benefit, because it changes us, it shifts our consciousness, it makes us aware of things that we may have not been aware of before. It points out our little, the things that we need to pay attention to. And I mention this because it's like, if you're not in a relationship right now and you're doing something that is solely for you, by doing that, it raises your vibration. It puts you on a pathway that you do end up coming into this energy. Okay. Now, for those because I'm getting 2 stories here. For those of you that are dealing with somebody that you may you may want to venture back into a situation with them, or you may be in a situation with them. It's like calling you to have all of the facts, calling you to, I don't want to say be hard or harsh, but like there's something here where I'm feeling like fact-based. I'm feeling like somebody, like there's no room for error. And I think that it's important to rein that in a little bit and introduce and inject some warmth, some kindness. Let's not be just about material things. Let's not be just about status. Let's not be superficial. And I'm feeling like that is coming from a place of what society wants. What does he make a good enough paycheck? What kind of car does he drive? How many 2.5 children can we have? Like, it just feels like kind of contrived and forced. Like, I think it's important to remove that aspect so you can actually get to the meat and bones of a person and see their heart for what it is, and see if that's what you actually want to be incorporated in, versus like a contractual like agreement. Like marriage is an agreement, but I don't know, it doesn't have to be so harsh. Yeah, I was in a class the other night, and we were doing ceremonial stuff. It was about, we were talking about hand fasting came up, and it's basically like where you love a person, you enjoy them very much, and you agree to be hand fasted with them. You agree to join together with this person for a year, for 365 days. It's not for the end of the world until death do you part. It's for a year. And after that year goes by, you evaluate the situation. Was this good? Was this nurturing? Did I enjoy this? Do I love you? Are we still good? My God, this was amazing. I just can't, I have to do another 365 days with you. And it's like, it's that. It goes back in if both partners are in agreement. But it's easy because you can evaluate how you feel. It's not like set in stone, like you have to do this and this and this. There's so much pressurized buildup for people that most people fall short like so much of the time because they can't meet that. It's not okay. It's not a healthy way to go. And I think that that's where we're really having to turn this on its head and really go towards a more unconventional approach in regard to love. Also, an unconventional approach in regard to how you make your money, what makes sense for you in your life, how you, even if you're not going about it with money, it's more about like how you go about things to make you happy. What makes you happy? Is it the conventional route, or is it the totally like wacky and weird route where it's like you kind of get to make the rules and enjoy them and savor them as you will? So yeah, let's pull some more cards here. Show me the Hierophant for Leo. You know, the Five of Wands, Leo, for this Hierophant here. And you've got the Tower at the bottom of the deck. So basically everything I'm talking about here in regard to having conflict with this type of energy, in regard to having conflicting thoughts, in regard to the status quo, societal, social mores, you know, things that are acceptable and proper and, you know, don't wear white after Labor Day bullshit, like whatever. It's about tearing it down. It's about burning that shit to the ground. Okay? Trust yourself. Trust the energy that's brought to you. Trust the ideas that you have. And if something feels anxiety making, if something feels like you are in conflict with people because like family members and friends because they're a certain way, keeping up with the Joneses, like fuck the Joneses. I'm sorry. Like, sorry. What's the point? What's the point? Show me the Page of Wands. So you have the Hierophant for the Page of Wands popping out with the Five of Pentacles here. So again, everything that we're just talking about here, within this conflict, within this frustration, the Five of Pentacles and the Five of Wands, cutting things out that no longer make sense, getting away from situations that provide conflict, frustration, egoic maneuvers, you know, manipulative tactics and ploys, things that really... things that are really, really sad that we are so subscribed to. So many of us are subscribed to some really sad ways of experiencing life. You know, you can't do this, you can't do that, you must do this, and da 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 da. You can't be boxed, Leo. Like, you can't be boxed. Don't fit Leo in a box. It never works. You know, cats love a fucking box, but you know, after a while, cats shit in boxes. So let's get real, okay? Yeah, with the Hierophant and the Page of Wands. Sorry, I'm still getting over this cold. This is about school. It's about education. It's about moving towards something that you want, but it's also about really looking at things in, I want to say, a light of change, recognizing what seems daunting to you and doing your damnedest to make it so that it's not, especially if you're actively going to be engaging in a situation where you know the things that you're going to be endeavoring in are going to be frustrating and exhausting and less exciting, more nose to the grindstone type information. Yeah, but again, this card, it's all about letting things go. And this card is also very heavily associated with the Hierophant card. The Hierophant, the Pope, lives within the realm of the church. The church is the establishment. Here we see two people outside of the church. You know, one is facing it, one's back is turned away from it, one's in crutches, you know, one looks like it's about to spray paint. You know, the church it talks about money, you know, entitlement, it talks about tradition, and it also talks about bucking that system, taking it away. You know, these two people, at least the one with crutches, he's out here not receiving any aid from the church, he's on his own. He's got his back turned to the church. There's something about that, you know, we can do things on our own, even if we're falling apart. Sometimes, and I don't mean the church, like, don't go to church. What I'm saying is establishments. Be careful about how much you subscribe to them. Be careful about how much credence you give to establishments and tradition, and this is how it is, and this is how it is. I read something the other day that said tradition is tradition is just peer pressure from dead people. Tradition is just peer pressure from dead people. So there you go. Show me the Two of Wands here for Leo. So the Two of Wands in reverse, you have the Devil, the Page of Cups, and the Queen of Swords. So, you know, in regard to this, the devil doesn't have to just mean a bad person or drugs or sex. It can mean codependent ways of thinking. It's interesting. This person is in a nice suit. They've got the devil horns on, but they're in a nice suit and tie. It almost feels like the way that things are being viewed here in regard to establishment we can have negative association with it. This can talk about negative associations to things. It can talk about codependency. It can talk about toxic thinking, toxic being, toxic situations, posing in pretty clothes. You know, if you're going to step into that, I think it's important to really be firm in how you go about trusting yourself in that type of environment. In regard to a person, we have the Queen of Swords here and the Page of Cups. So this is evaluating communication with somebody. You know, again, back to that whole somebody needing to be a certain way. It's important here to not drown in that type of thinking, to not stifle and crush the potential of something just because it seems either immature, where you want somebody to be a certain way. Like some people take a moment to get to that. Some people will never be that. But here it feels like the Queen of Swords is needing to be a little bit more tolerant. A little more tolerant and less judgmental, I'm feeling. And also, too, in regard to the Queen of Swords here with this Devil card, you know, we're looking at this person in this jacket and suit and whatever, but it's like we're putting our emphasis on how good they look. But on the inside, it's crap. It's the devil. You know, I'm using that as a metaphor for like not everything that's glitter is gold. Be careful about how you view things and be careful about how you pin certain meanings and expectations onto people because of trivial things, you know, what's expected, what you've learned. If a person is good in their heart and their spirit, like, trust that, because that'll get you farther in relationships of love than, you know, status and cars and money. Those things are flashy, but, you know, flashes go out. So show me the Eight of Wands for Leo. The Eight of Wands for Leo. So again, you have the Page of Wands here. So in the same row, we have the Page of Wands with the Eight of Wands. This is movement. This is learning. It's about exploration. It's about going and trying things out, you know, trusting things. But I really want to say here too, Leo, if you get involved with something, there's kind of what I said in the beginning. It's like this decision-making situation where you kind of want to make the right decision so you can stick with it. I'm feeling a heaviness here where we need to stick with something, where we need to not be flitty and flighty and, you know, fly by night type of energy. We need to stick with something and be very genuine in what we want. And I think that sometimes can take a little bit of patience, you know, but we still have this Eight of Pentacles here where we're putting deep diligence into something. So it seems like something's moving forward. It feels like things are moving and in the process. I'm just feeling like these are multiple layers of like how to get to that place, how to get to that movement, that next positioning, if you will. Show me the Eight of Pentacles. So the Eight of Pentacles, you have the Ace of Cups. So definitely putting into energy into something that you feel passionate about, you feel loving about, you feel something that it emotionally serves you, it feels emotionally important to be part of it, it feeds you emotionally. That's what I'm trying to say. In regard to relationships, I do want to mention here that the devil, as well as this Ace of Cups, I keep feeling like we're like paying attention to facade more than we are to the internal aspect of people or a person or maybe even ourselves, you know, putting materialistic things a little bit higher than people. And that's not going to be for everybody, but for whomever this is resonating with, you can't make somebody something, you can't force somebody to be something that they're not. And if a person has shown you how they are time and time again, oftentimes that's how they are, so if a person presents that they'll change, they'll do this, they'll do that, they might, but likely if they've shown you multiple times, they may not. I do want to mention here too, though, the devil here, if you look at this card, the devil has a pentagram on their head. This beast here has a pentagram on his head. The devil's represented here twice in horns. I feel that this is an energy here where we're like battling with ourselves. I feel it's an energy where we're battling with the mind. Maybe that's why it came on top of the Queen of Swords. And it's time to let that type of energy go. It's time to let go of toxic behaviors, toxic ways of thought, toxic belief patterns, toxic masculinity for sure. And some of us are very attracted to toxic masculinity as well. I'm feeling like I need to say that right now. A man needs to be this, a man needs to be that, a man needs to have a giant dick, a man needs to have whatever the fuck he needs to have. Those are constructs of weird societal, whatever. That's also plugging in and staying very, very fresh within toxic mindsets, codependent behavior towards that type of stuff. Like it's toxic thinking. Let it go, because you may be passing up an opportunity where somebody could be good for you, and it's like you're poisoning it with toxicity. Show me the Three of Wands. Ace of Pentacles. So what you want is coming. It's a possibility. Again, put heavy work into this. Bright future, bright horizon, but we have to put work into it. We have to shift things and actually be very diligent here. That goes in relationships and that goes in personal pursuits. It's coming. The energy is presented here. It feels very, very, it's for you. It's just, you have to step into it and you have to do it in a way that's not damaging to your situation, because you're creating all of these, it needs to be this way and this way and this way. Just kind of let it flow. Kind of be that Pisces energy, like step into that flowy energy where you just kind of trust a situation because it feels good versus it needs to be this and this and this. Show me the Fool for Leo. So you have the King of Swords here, Leo. You got the King of Swords and you have the Queen of Swords here now. If this is a relationship, it's two people meeting together, being of the same mindset, being able to communicate clearly, not getting their emotions completely in a kerfuffle when anything happens. It's being able to create a commitment with somebody that is long-lasting, because you're able to actually connect with each other in a positive way. And also in regard to people that are not in a relationship and you're doing things on your own, this is more so speaking of cutting out bullshit, cutting out things that get in the way. And while the Queen of Swords, she's more receptive, she's more open to things, this one just cuts him out. He's like, no, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't want that. It gets in the way. It gets in my way. I don't need it. Bye. And I think that that's really helpful in serving you towards this energy, serving you towards what you want. And now you have the King of Pentacles underneath that. You've got the King of Pentacles underneath on this reading twice, and you have the Ace of Pentacles twice here. So financial abundance, stepping into a role that is far better suited to make money, to be stable in your life. You could be